How's everyone doing? Good? Good. All right, because I'm nervous. Let's do this. Thank you, Jasmine, for the laughter. That really helps. When an artist wants to create a vessel, he starts with just clay. It's all bland and boring with nothing much going on. But the artist shapes this ugly blob of soil into something else. Now, this creation may be plain or dull, and just after it's finished, it may still be clumsy, but this piece of clay finally has a use. Now, most of you are probably thinking to yourselves, really? Is he really going to start out with a metaphor? That's the way to start out a speech. Make everyone fall asleep at the start of it. But I promise I'm getting somewhere with this. So when I was in 3rd grade, my English teacher was Mrs. Maybe. And there are 2 things that I still retain from her class today. The first, that my cursive is horrible. And second, the day she told me that I would be the President of the United States after she read one of my papers in class. Now, I really have no drive whatsoever to be president. So I'll leave that to someone like Travis. Yes, he is a good leader. Thank you. But it's crazy how I still remember that to this day. And I think I still remember it because I have no idea what I said in that poorly written cursive letter. But even after I left 3rd grade, she would say to me in the hallway, "How are you doing today, Mr. President?" I know. And I would reply with, "Wonderful," because every day was wonderful when I got to see Mrs. Maybe. I know, I'm a sap. Flash forward 4 more years and I'm in the 7th grade. It was the first day after winter break was over. The day before, I had just gotten a pair of new tennis shoes, and because I was still growing, I bought shoes that were way too big for my feet. Well, as I'm walking to the art hallway from the 2nd floor, I missed one of the steps because of those new big shoes, and I fell down like half a flight of steps. I started to cry, but I wasn't sure if it was from the broken arm or because of the 2 girls in the grade above me who were laughing at me from the top of the stairway. It was really embarrassing. So I'm on the floor of this hallway just bawling my eyes out from the physical and emotional pain. But then someone appeared in the middle of the doorway to the elementary wing. It was Mrs. Maybe. The first thing she said to me was, "Mr. President, are you okay?" And for the first time, I responded with no. So she invited me into her class to sit down, and she started to make sure I was okay. Now it's 9 in the morning at this point, so she's already started her class with a bunch of 3rd graders. The 3rd graders surrounded me like I was one of the 8 wonders of the world. They just stared. Here's this big middle schooler just drowning himself in his own tears. Now, if I were one of these children, I would have probably laughed at this kid with his shiny clown shoes and his dirty clothes from the floor. But before any of the kids could say anything, Mrs. Maybe said to the children, "We need to make sure he's okay. He's going to be our president one day." And after that, the kids just sat there for the rest of the time I was in her class. They just watched me and made sure I was okay. I think our whole class can say that there's been at least one instance in their time here at CSAS where one of our teachers has nurtured us like their own children. Almost instantly, they dropped what they were doing to check on the junior having a mental breakdown about their American Dream speech, or the 6th grader who just got their finger jammed in his locker, or to help after a tragedy happening to one of our families. But that's not their job. All they're paid to do is teach us what the state deems is important to our general high school education. And then after that, they can take their paychecks and go their merry way. But our teachers don't do that. Instead, they become our parents and role models. Now, some in the audience may disagree with this idea of teachers having those responsibilities. They should be harsh and to the point. That's how my teachers were. That was an impression of like a 7-year-old man. I don't know. Sorry. But compassion has given us more than anger ever could. Because of the love and care shown by our teachers, the students follow right in their footsteps, Creating an environment where comprehending something out of a textbook is not the only education we receive, but we are also taught how to love one another. I think the main reason why 100% of our class is graduating today is because not only do we have a loving support system at home, but we have a loving support system at CSAS. When you are failing the class, instead of attacking you for all the things that you've done wrong so far, our teachers help you establish a way to get to the end goal and ask what they can do to help. When we fail at our objectives, we are never told how horrendous we are and how much of a letdown we become, but rather, we are told how we have what it takes to be successful. And some of the audience may disagree with this sentiment, because that's not how the real world works. The world isn't a happy, gushy place where everyone is looking out for you and wanting the best for everyone. However, to believe that a primary and secondary education should be just like the real world is hardly effective. So many kids that go to other schools are told that they won't make it, that they'll never go to college, and that they'll never get a job. This truthfulness does nothing but hurt the self-esteem of an already fragile child. And in this case, it's no wonder why thousands of kids drop out of high school in America today. What is the motivation of doing something you already dislike when you are told you will fail anyway? At CSAS, not only do we care about one another, but learning becomes something that is not a chore, but rather a desire. We throw around the term lifelong learner a lot, but the kind of tight-knit family that develops at CSAS creates this lifelong learning that our faculty strives to create. When you make learning seem positive rather than a negative, it in turn makes the students do the same. But what does all this have to do with succeeding after high school? Sure, we all get our diplomas, but how does this hippie love ideology transfer over to the world? Like I've said before, the world is not nice and caring, even if your teachers in high school were. But what CSAS allows us to do with this culture is explore without being completely shut down. There is a culture of higher thinking and perseverance that takes place because we've been conditioned to listen to each other and share our ideas. Although we often complain about the process of seminar, it allows us to figure our own beliefs on a piece and then demands that we figure out how to communicate those effectively. In our 10th grade Power to the People project, we were forced to find the 20 most important moments that ever happened in the world. As you may imagine, there were very different answers to the most important event. The answers varied from the birth of Christ to the invention of the shoe. But I think that was my answer, probably. But what we come to realize while our peers are presenting is all the different values that we have. This idea of free thinking and the ability to show our own beliefs allows the students of CSAS to get a glimpse of the world. There is no culture gap for a person who has been surrounded by the same color or socioeconomic level, and there's also little growth or awareness. At CSAS, we have one of the most diverse mixes of culture and race that is represented in the city of Chattanooga. Because of this assortment of students, we have been conditioned to care for things that don't necessarily happen to our families. When one of us is having a problem, we try to take it on with them. If someone is failing, we've always been there to try to help that person get back up. And we just don't care about the other people around us, but we care about our own work as well. Yes, to get into college, you have to have a good ACT score and a high GPA. But what CSAS embeds in us is the fact that those numbers aren't the true definitions of success. Although some people like to see their class rank on a transcript as some kind of game where they try to beat everyone else, ironically at CSAS, those same people are the ones that also help the ones that struggle, nearly destroying their chances at first place. And now that we've finished with all of our classes, it's easy to see the most impactful class we could create was not just to write that amazing paper, but to help others and help them find success. Success is something There's tassels in there. Success to some may mean what your address is or what tax bracket you fall under, but real success is about being a good person and being loving. But that philosophy has to be conditioned into us. We have to be taught somewhere the difference between right and wrong at some point. The true definition of success is not winning a race to the top, but rather the ability to find our place and to be truly happy there. Ultimately, it's most important to be happy with the people we care about, and at the end of the day, with ourselves. So you see, all along our teachers have been taking these pieces of clay and making them into pieces of art. Some more stunning than others. That was funny, thank you. But we all have a use and a purpose. But now, all I can think about is Mr. Kelman and Mr. Bowser doing pottery together. In my head, I have this image where Mr. Kelman and Mr. Bowser are intently focused on the pottery wheel, but I'll just stop there. Love you guys. Even without the use of the metaphor, I think we can all see how CSAS has shaped us. Now, we have the rest of our lives ahead of us, and now it's our job to mold the rest of our own destiny. Thank you.